It's communal, it's spiritual, it's intellectual and free. It's Lincoln Center, Dim Lit Jazz Club, Harlem Jam Session, and tonight it is B-Side. I am your host, Queen GodIs, simply here to warn you that our special guests, Mwenso and the Shakes, are probably gonna leave some of y'all shook with their whirling windstorm of creative energy, kaleidoscope of musical influences, and funky flair for collaborative magic that seduces folks of all faiths and into hearing color, seeing sounds, and catching vibes. Buckle up, Brooklyn, for what's sure to be another live ride on B-Side.
It's just that.
It's the moon. It's the moon. The moon. Got to get in that mood, no. Got to get in that mood, no. Got to get in that mood. It's the moon. It's the moon. It's the moon. It's the moon. I never dare to have your arm inside me. Now could give my heart in sweet surrender. Don't you know, 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 don't you know? Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know, don't you know? It's the mood. It's the mood I'm in now. It's the mood. It's the mood I'm in now. Can it be the music that they are playing now? You give my heart in sweet surrender, don't you? I got to know, don't you know, it's just that. I got to know, just that. It's the moon.
Maybe it's the cocktails that I'm sipping to make me feel this way. Maybe it's because of you I'm slipping. I am slipping. I am slipping. I am slipping. Yeah.
It's the moon. the mood I'm in now. It's the mood. It's the mood I'm in now.
Well, this is B-side. We just heard It's the Mood I'm In from Mwenso and the Shakes. And let me set the tone of what is actually helping create this full mood that we are in. On the other side of the glass, we got Mahogany Brown's Black Girl Magic letting out. And on this side of the glass, so shout out to her, we have this side of the glass, we have Mwenso and the Shakes creating another kind of magic, community magic, collaboration magic, jazz magic, and beyond. And I just want to say this to you. Normally when we have artists on the show and it's like more than 1, 2, 3 of y'all, I try to cheat a little bit and I just have you introduce everybody, but I think I got this.
Okay.
And if I do justice, I get a front row seat to all of your next concerts in New York. That's the rules. Okay, so hoofing, we got Taylor, give it up. On the drums, killing it, we got Savannah, give it up. On the keys in the corner in the back, we got Matisse. The horn section, we got Ruben and Julian. On the vocals, and also after the show, I might be stealing him from y'all, so say your goodbyes now. We got Vuyo from South Africa on the vocals. And last but not least, we have the homie, my friend, our new friend, Michael Mwenso. So, where's your manager? Put those tickets aside for me, please. Thank you very, very much. Let's jump into it. You are an interesting cat. I'm going to use as much of my jazz slang as I possibly can today. You were born in Sierra Leone, and you lived there till about 10 years old. Then you made your way to Europe, specifically London, where you lived for a while. And then you left school, and you kind of hit the road on tour and like working your music magic, because that's when you around the time that music really made it clear to you that this is what you needed to be doing. So you went to a lot of places, and then somehow after all that, you ended up in Brooklyn. Tell us about it. He's looking at me like I'm a stalker. No,
it was the way you did it.
Yes.
Someone saying it like that is it's like, okay.
It's a lot. So tell us about it.
Well, you're very right. You know, I was born in Freetown, Sierra Leone, but my mother had met my father actually in London before she went to Sierra Leone. They actually met in London.
Okay.
London actually was somewhere they had connected there. My father was from Zambia. His mother is South African, his father is Zambian.
So were you conceived in London?
I do believe that's what my mother said. But then my father's mother was dying, so he had to go back before I was born, and he went back to Lusaka. And then in that time period, my grandmother reached out to my mom and said, it's not good that you have this child as a lone single mother in London, so come back to Sierra Leone. That's where my grandmother was living at that time. So it really, to be honest, it's very unusual that I was born in Sierra Leone, because really a lot of the family had moved by then and were living in Nigeria. That's my maternal grandfather's Nigerian, and a lot of Ghanaian relatives. So it was interesting that Sierra Leone was where I was born, but we lived there and moved around too to Nigeria and Ghana in those years. And then my mother met my stepfather, and when I was about 10, he came to Sierra Leone, and we moved, and she married him, and they moved to London, and that was a very different life. He was a very very beautiful man. You know, he was a divorcee, he had children of his own, but, you know, wanted to marry my mother and was ready to take, you know, her child too in a certain way. And we lived with him for a while. His name was Roger. And he was a very wonderful man. He didn't live as long as he should have, and he died. that was a whole journey. And then that was really the time of a very deep moment that when music came into my life because, you know, that was a very different life changes. You know, your mom going through stuff, you trying to understand what your mom's going through, and you're maybe not being around your mom as much as you'd want to. And then music came into my life at that time. And then in that time, too, I was very lucky that a lot of the musicians who became so important in my life as I grew, I was able to see a lot of them. You know, 1997, 98, you still had the ability to see people like Betty Carter and Elvin Jones, and of course James Brown, Ray Charles, B.B. King, Bobby Bland. All these
you're
people.
dropping them all in there real fast.
And it's real, you know.
Let's slow it down just a little bit so everybody can really let this sink in, because it is quite an anomaly in so many different ways, and I want us to be clear about how. So first of all, blessings to your family and those who've crossed over, and we want to honor the fact that those hardships and the lives that they lived, regardless of how long, led you to the things that lead you here. So we want to acknowledge that. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to a millennial. This man is born in 1984. Some of you are going to go online or looking online, you're going to see footage of him and you're going to think easily it's from 1960 or 70 or maybe 80s, like literally. So in addition to being a vocalist, a musician, a band leader, an MC, a curator, a programmer, and the list goes on, you're a shapeshifter. Because if you didn't know these details about you, the names that he's going to drop throughout the night are people that mostly get name dropped from people who are peers of their generation. You know, James Brown is a name that is going to come up. James Brown was born 1933, passed away in 2006, is 73 years old. So when I read that you played with James Brown, I was like, I tried to do the math. I was like, did James Brown die? Like, I was like, literally, I had to like Wikipedia the heck out of this situation. So let's skip ahead just a little bit to that moment, and then we're gonna come back to talk about family.
Okay.
14, 15, 16-year-old. You are a skinny little kid with a big ass baggy suit and a bow tie.
You have seen it.
I've seen it. It's really incredible black and white footage. I don't know if that was an after effect or if that is literally.
I put it on that thing when it goes great.
Oh, okay.
You know, and
I was like, cause wait a minute.
It's the worst thing ever happened to me.
It does. It's an awful video. Like the quality is awful, but
I wish it was color. It was me. I switched it.
You know what? You trying to play with people's minds. Okay, so I'm watching this video of him on YouTube on stage with James Brown. Most people get their 15 minutes of fame. Kids are lucky because they're cute, and so somebody like James Brown might be like, I don't mind putting this little one on stage because he's cute. We're gonna get some extra hooting and hollering from the ladies, whatever, whatever. This kid did not get 15 minutes. He got like a residency run. And then like there were moments when you're passing the mic and the stage back to James Brown, and then you go back out again. And I'm like, how is this possible from the James Brown that we know, whose band members will easily get kicked out if they hit the wrong note or don't show up on time? You literally had quite a bit of time amongst these people who most people only get to read about or learn about in textbooks. And so we go from these hardship moments to you being a teenager, and again, so now we're circling back to family. Let's talk about your mom. Your mom made a decision that she wanted you to be around the environment where you could learn firsthand. So your education as a teenager was being in these clubs and in these venues where you got to see great musicians of all time. None will be created like them ever again, up close and personal.
That's true.
Let's talk about your mom.
Well, it's interesting because Michaela and Vuyo and some of them met her for the first time this last year. We went to London. We did a play about Fats Waller, and Jono has too, our manager. She's really, a lot of it is her. You know, her spirit, her frustrations. You know, she was a frustrated artist. She left.
What kind of artist?
An actress. She left Nigeria in the late 1970s to come to RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, to study. And, you know, she was there. She got a scholarship, you know, after about a year or two, life changes. Things happened. She couldn't stay. She had to do day jobs. So a lot of it, but from a young child, she would always drag me to when she's doing community plays. And she would get parts, and she would cuss out the directors, and then she would get fired, and then they would beg her to come back because she's so good, and you know. And this is how she kind of had an outlet. And I would go a lot to these community plays that she would do, you know, where she would do all kind of different parts. So really, a lot of the, you know, strength, comes from her, seeing all the things she went through, you know. A lot of the power and the conviction of belief comes from seeing her and seeing her struggles.
And the permission.
Yes.
She gave you a green light
did.
at an age that most parents would not.
Yes.
And so we're gonna like let that sing in. We're gonna go into some more music.
I want to know what she did. If I was something.
All right.
Okay.
I do's my job. We're gonna leave it there for a second. Let's go into another song real quick,
Yes.
just so that they can have more to sink their teeth and their ears into. But like, shout out to your mom. And on a quick note, this
Cassandra et son.
Yeah, there you go.
And your last song.
This story begins with family, and it continues with family in a way that a lot of musical groups don't necessarily continue in the consciousness of family. We're gonna go into the next song with Mwenso and the Shakes, and this song is called "You Can Do No Wrong."
This is by Judy Garland. If you ever seen the film The Pirate with Gene Kelly, something very beautiful she sings in it. This is called "You Can Do No Wrong."
You can do no wrong. You're as right as a nightingale song. You're the nth of perfection of them all. You're the star when I gaze in your direction. I can barely wait for that night when we'll share the same fate. And from then on, sweet angel, I will worship you my life long. For you, you can do no wrong. Share the same fate, and from then on, sweet angel, I will worship you my life long. For you, you can do no wrong. You can do no wrong. no wrong. Yeah, you can do no wrong. 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 You.
So y'all just gonna start out showing off. In a lot of traditions, there's a lot of taboo about women drumming, but I just want you to see what happens when women hold down the rhythm section. Savannah and Michaela, I said I was taking Vuyo, and now I have to add these two. By the time the show is over, you will have no more bands. Family, so we ended up talking about your mom. We want to shout out to Cassandra. Family continues with this way in which you started to think about creating your music, and it very quickly kind of spiraled into not just bands, but a family of art musicians that are a big part of your voice, your work, your progression, your progress, your process. And coincidentally, you happen to call everybody in the band, or some version of Pops. So we start with your mama, and then the idea of father does not leave.
Yes,
Everybody gets called
searching for the
Pops.
father,
So,
yeah.
right. So I think that, that's still a nod to sometimes what's absent is also very present. Why call everybody Pops, and then talk to us about how you think about band as an extension of family?
Well, first, in all of the original cultures, of course, the African culture, anyone that's older than you just call him Baba, or you call him Father. But also, it's a term of endearment to also just see even your fellow person as your father. You are brother, you are father to me, you are, And for me, it's definitely something that started off as, something, I would say to someone, that's how I feel about him. There's a love there, and it could be even people younger than you. But it has definitely become something of it's a love, it's a respect. And not everyone is a Pops.
Right.
Some people don't, some people
There's a lot of not Pops.
No, no. Not everyone deserves it.
Yeah.
No.
Whether they have children or not. So, yes, he did it. I didn't say it first. He did. But the moral of the story is we want to acknowledge the spirit of fatherhood and how it transcends roles and even lifetimes.
Yeah.
So shout out to all of y'all Pops in the crew. Let's talk about the Shakes. So the Shakes is a rotating cast of musicians, usually 3 to 5 players, but on any given show, maybe like similar to other bands, you may see somebody different. Talk to us really quickly about the name The Shakes. How did that come about? And tell us your relationship with these people who are here with you today.
Well, the Shakes has become something of a community, of a family, a musical family, a spiritual family, an artistic family, and the word really came out of the being of whatever is your thing that you like to do. We would say things like, what's shaking, or what is the shake, or what's going down. It could mean anything. Okay. It's how you phrase it. It's also the rhythm of it. Okay. It could be anything. That's the beauty of the word. So in a sense, it's something we use. It's like we said Pops. Yeah. But it also then it became even more than that. And so we just said we title ourselves The Shakes because we do a lot of different things. Okay. And you can't define it in a certain way
Which is
too.
a great
it's
way
a
to-
lot of different things.
And we're going to come back to this question of a lot of different things as we attempt to try to genreify you for those who need
That's
those
exactly what I'm
classifications.
saying. That's
I know,
why
I got
it's
it.
a
I got
shame.
you. We here. So real quick, as I'm interjecting, and then again, we want to go back to you speaking really quickly
About
individually.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're at the Grammys or some other musical event and the Alabama Shakes are there, do y'all like have to bust out in a rap battle to keep the name? Who keeps the name? Is there beef around it?
No, I don't. There's nothing. No.
Okay, good. That's good to know. I was just checking.
No, I know what you're saying.
Just checking.
though.
Yes. All right. So let's tell us really quickly how you met them, how often they play with you, what the relationship is like.
It's true what you say. It has become. There's veteran shakes too. There's people that have been there, and we call them when we need them. But there's people that they don't play with us all the time. There's even one in the audience right now.
Shout them out real quick.
His name is Alfonso Horn.
Yeah.
He don't really play with us a lot, but he's an honorary shake,
Yeah.
so he can come anytime. But
veteran shake.
we have many different people. We have 5 piano players, 6 different drummers. We're very lucky now that Savannah is coming to our midst because she has every person.
Because
brings
she's dope,
Yes.
obviously.
No, well, that's not also it, because every person that comes in individualizes the music in their own way.
Okay.
So she has now made the song sound different, and she
Okay.
brings her own spiritual power. So we also have a female percussionist, Negar, who's normally here, and she brings a whole other vibe.
Okay.
But it really has evolved, and Savannah has come into our midst recently and has brought such amazing beauty and
Yes.
love to what we're trying to do. Michaela is many roles. She's a sister, she's a mother, she's a comforter, she's a friend. She allows us to make mistakes and to also tell us about our mistakes so that we can do better. And she teaches us. I said to her the other day, that I wish every man could live with a woman as a friend before you go and try and be with a woman.
Okay.
Because every man needs to do it. I'm not talking about the mother, I'm talking about the one after that. She teaches us a lot. So that's what she is.
Thank you, Michaela. Who else we got on this side?
Then we have Matisse. Matisse has been around us for many different years and now has become such a vocal point of what it has become. And he's a Gemini. And Matisse is doing
Is that why we have 2 keyboards?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also too, he's amazing because sometimes one time we were going to go Ukraine and bass player didn't sort out the visa, something happened, so we had to go Ukraine without no bass. So from then on, in there, Matisse has been fulfilling the role with such strength. This is very hard. He's playing the bass and the harmony and everything like that. So give Matisse Picard a round of applause.
Thank you.
Ruben, you talking about family, community. Ruben was someone when I was in London that I was fortunate to be around. When he was growing up, when he was 16, 17 years old, he would come to Ronnie Scott's and they would do exactly what I was doing 10 years before, and coming to the gigs and coming to the jam sessions. And now he lives in New York, so he's very special.
Okay,
So,
thanks,
Ruben Fox.
Yeah.
And then this gentleman, Julian Lee, we had been hearing about him for so long before he was in the Shakes, but he actually has probably been one of the longest. He started being in the band when he was like 17, 18, so he's seen a lot of different things. But but he comes from a very long line of musicians. His mother's a great musician, his father's a great musician, all the children, all of his siblings are great musicians, and we have a lot of love for him. Julian Lee.
Yeah.
And Vuyo came into our lives. We don't know how it happened.
But we know why it's going to continue to happen.
We don't know how it happened. It just happened. This is the one that,
Wait, where did you meet exactly?
that's what I'm about to say.
Right, okay.
Because for a lot of us, Jazz at Lincoln Center was a place where a lot of us met.
Jazz
And
at
where a lot of this started to evolve through a lot of the stuff I was doing there.
Yeah.
And Vuyo worked there too.
Okay.
And would be in the office with me. And but I'd heard about Vuyo a year or 2 before that.
Oh, okay.
From people who had been in a competition with him and he beat them and he won and I'd heard about him, but when he came to the office, I recognized him, and I said, this is the person I'd been hearing about. So it's by magic he's here. Vuyo.
And Vuyo's from South Africa.
Yes.
And I was imagining that y'all met somewhere in Africa. I totally made that up. So shout out to the veteran sheiks, the current sheiks, the Harlem sheiks, and everybody shaking it all over the world. We are going to go into the next song, but before we do, I just want to tease you a little bit. When I first saw a video of you, I was like, where did he get this British accent from? Because, you know, a lot of people, when they start to come into their own musically or they become famous, they magically get a British accent somehow, as if it's a marker of that ascent to fame. But yours is real. Okay. We'll let you keep it. We're going to come back after this song and talk about your time in Europe. What is the difference between being in Africa and Europe and here in the States in terms of the impact of each of these places on your process and on your community building? Give it up for Mwenso and the Sheiks.
And over.
Believe the God in you. You got to love, and love the God in you. You got to know, and know the God in you. Look at how they walk, look at how they talk. People walking round and round in circles, they don't stop. People glance and frown, they don't bother me.
Just the drums and the bass and vocals.
Look at how they walk, look at how they talk. People walking round and round in circles, they don't stop.
It's British.
People glance and frown, they don't bother me. Look at them, look at them. Look Look at them, look at them. Look at them, look at them. Look at them, look at them.
You lost the whole band. They're all officially coming with me. This is Mwenso and the Shakes. That song was called Know the God. We want to talk about what this song is about, but before we do, I just need to do a pulse check and an age check. Can everybody in the front row just do a Millie Rock for me really quickly? Because I just need to see that you can do it. Like,
Which
yeah,
one?
Yeah, because I think y'all are lying about being millennials. They lied. I caught them. I caught them. It's over. The charade is over. I really feel like you're like of the ilk of.
Who are you talking to? Who or me?
I'm talking to all of y'all.
Oh, okay.
I think you're from the ilk of like Pharrell. Like Pharrell is like 1,000 years old, looking like
me?
Pharrell looking like he's. You really are like an 80-year-old man in there.
Oh, wow.
Pretending to be 33. 33. Okay, whatever. Question. What is Know the God about? And I think that's a great, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that song and the process, but I think that's a great segue after that to go into your transition from Africa to Europe to the States. There's so many transitions in this song, and they are precise, but they are also fluid, and I think that that might be an interesting metaphor for what it seems like your journey is. So go for it. What is Know the God about?
Know the God is really it's a conscious song. It's a prayer song. It has sections, and it's supposed to be a section of your own search. As you start off, it's there to be the first setting that you have is know the God in you, trust the God in you, believe in God in you, and it came out of me saying these things to myself, trying to get more strength, trying to believe myself, trying to understand the ability of to be able to. You create your own energy. You know, you create. If you want things, you can make them happen. You know, you have to believe, you have to have faith, of course, you have to work hard, but, you know, there is an ability of power that you can use to make things happen, and I was telling myself these things, but I also was going through a lot of, like this kind of feeling, look at them, people watching, you know, I was going for a little bit of that. I was trying to get strength to be able to, you know, be cool.
Can you clarify that? Do you mean being a public
I
face?
was not, I was feeling like I didn't want to be seen.
Really?
I didn't want to be seen because I felt like if I went outside, people would say, look at it, look at it. That's what I was dealing with.
When?
Well,
At what point in your life?
This was maybe like 2 years ago.
Really?
You know, there was a transition, and that was what was going on. But then there also was another part. These are almost like emotions I was going through, and I tried to put them in the song in a certain way as how it evolved from knowing the God in you, and then, you know, going through your own insecurities, but then also believing who you are. We didn't do the next part. There's another part of the song, which all has different parts. The next part is an uplift that tells you that you should be strong and you should take your time, but you should also be aware that you are somebody that is worth something, and you should also let your soul be at peace.
For people who need that part of the song, where could they find that part of the song?
You can go find it. We on YouTube. You can find it. There's Know the
Know
God.
the
There's about
God on
7 different
YouTube.
versions of it.
Okay.
It's there. It's there.
Are you on SoundCloud or is that after your time?
No, we on SoundCloud, Jonah.
Like,
SoundCloud.
Does this group exist on digital media at all, or is it only on analog?
Yes. You got to go to the website. It's the website.
MichaelWinso.com. He don't know.
Mwenso,
Okay.
that's right. That's what it is. No, I forget because I don't know if it's Mwenso in the shakes.
He don't log in, that's why.
Mwenso.com.
Mwenso.com.
Yes.
Okay. All right. He's also on Instagram, but I can guarantee you.
Instagram, no, I know the Instagram. I'm always on there.
You're not logging into the gram.
No, I'm on the Instagram. I'm on the Instagram. I'm on the Instagram.
I'm gonna check.
I'm doing
okay. So the song
Grace
is
is
about a self-actualization, self-realization.
Yes, self-realization.
Yes, and then it has all of these transitions into it, which are reflective of your journey with that process. Let's talk about the transitions from where you were born to where you were raised to where you live now. I'm going to call out the name of each of these places again, and I just want you to give us one word or one brief phrase of how each of these places impacted your musical, creative, and spiritual journey. All right, Sierra Leone, Africa.
Survival. You know. People.
London, UK.
Education.
Survival, education. Being on tour, so the many places that you, what has that offered you?
Everything. To be more understanding of the world.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Survival,
understanding.
education,
Yeah.
understanding. The United States of America.
Life.
Life.
All of it. All of that stuff before is
All
now
of that
is
stuff.
in
Is
that,
mixed
this
in.
one now.
And this one. And last but not least, Brooklyn.
Now.
Now. Okay. Uh-oh. I feel like we need more light on the audience sometimes. Y'all are so funny. I don't know if the people at home can hear how that sounds in stereo. So we got survival, we got education, we got understanding.
That's all the things you need.
We got life, and
all
we
the
got
things you
now.
Yeah. You need to be in the now. You need to know how to survive. You need education. What's the next one?
Understanding.
And you need understanding.
Okay, let's go to amen.
Yes.
Let's go to education. You left school, the school system at 16 years old, and your mom allowed this.
Yeah, she was very cool.
My
mom was telling me from when I was 12, it's gonna be all right if you did exams are rubbish because I know you're gonna be on stage.
Exams are rubbish.
No, but she was already very like.
No, I just want to I wanted to repeat it so everybody could hashtag that and give your mom credit. Exams are rubbish.
She was behind it.
So amazing, and a lot of parents at home are like, absolutely not. But
but I must also say somebody else who was very important in being a father role. You know, when I was that age, he was my godfather.
And his name?
And his name was Thomas Blowfield.
Was he a musician?
He was just crazy. He was a Norfolk Kingsland old English man who was an English maths teacher who was retired, who was my mom's first landlord when she came to London in the 70s, and then 15 years later, he became the person that basically kind of adopted me. My mom was deported. And
she was deported?
Yes.
From?
Yes, we can't do it all now.
Okay, we can't do it. Look, I'm trying though.
But there was a period of her, not being in England, and he looked after me, and he was the person that really opened my eyes to Afro-American music.
Okay. And was he was white?
Yes,
okay.
And the social services did not like that.
Right. So there's a movie about this that's about to happen. Clearly, the storyline sounds very movieable. So education, you learned a lot from these people who kind of adopted you and from these musicians that your mom put you in, these nightclubs that you were allowed to be a part of, even though leaving school. What would you say was your greatest source of education from that moment? And like, if you could be specific, and then what message do you have to parents of young artists who are trying to help them navigate where they need to be in their journey?
Well, first of all, the greatest education was being around older people. That is the greatest education.
And you respected that right away, or was that something you had to learn to grow to respect?
I wanted it.
You did.
I wanted to be around people that were born before I was born, and I wanted to know what they knew, and I wanted to know how did they know it, and how come they were this cool, and how come they were like this. And why come those people when they were born in the 1930s are more soulful than the people like now? And what's going on? And why are the people like this? And why is a jazz musician like this? Why they got this unique vibe? And why is people from the South like this? Why has James Brown got this kind of vibe like this? From people in the North, you know, who were born in the same period, who like jazz, maybe didn't like. I was.
So you were learning history, geography.
Yes. I was scoping it all out at that age. I wanted to know why do people like this, and why is a musician like B.B. King? How come he got into the blues, but he was born the same time as like Miles Davis? I don't understand. And then I wanted to know why.
Okay.
You know?
Well, this question why is kind of where we're gonna have to leave it because we are under some time constraints. But you did give me an invitation to sit in all the rest of your shows for free, and the rest of y'all, you can go online and figure out where you get your ticket. The question is why and how, and we want to thank those who've existed in your realm and in ours that help us fill in these gaps and these answers to these questions, particularly James Brown, which we do want to talk more about. One word, really quickly, or one sentence. If James Brown, who had you on stage 14, 15, 16 years old, way back in the day, was to look at you now and all the things that you've accomplished since, what would he say? If you could translate it in a way that we would understand. Because it'd probably be like, "Sa da da," you know, it'd probably be something like that, but.
You're doing all right, son.
You're doing all right.
He even say something like that.
You doing all right?
He will give you the whole props.
He wouldn't give you the
No,
whole.
he said, you're doing all right, son. You got some other stuff you got to sort out, though.
Yeah. Good. All right, well, we're going to go into this tap dance feature, and that'll buy you some time to sort it out. We got Michaela Huffin. Michaela, you know, do what you do. Give him a time. It seems like he might need a couple extra minutes to sort it out. And then we're going to talk about, with you, how this became such an integral part of this collaboration process.
So then you do.
Give it up for Mwenso and the Shakes featuring Michaela on the Huffin.
Stay here.
What did you get? If these feet could talk, what were they saying, real quick? That's what I thought. We want to give a quick RIP to Kira Pesi, Gosi Sile, and Huma Sekela. I think it's very fitting for this show to acknowledge them. You said really quickly, and we're going to leave on this note, you're many titles, and you do many types of music, but you've also been a programmer and curator, inviting other artists to the table to be a part of the scene, to celebrate their work, to ask them questions. And you said that a lot of people take from jazz, but you wanted to create a movement that was giving back to jazz. In one word, what is it that you think that Mwenso and the Shakes is offering back to the jazz legacy?
I think we're trying to present an offering, a spiritual offering of all of everything that they contribute to the world, and almost in a sense like a tip your hat to all of the blessings they gave us through all of the creations that they had. And I think we've just found another way of offering to them praise and thanks. Really, that's really what we're trying to do with the music, is just thank them.
Amen.
You know.
So for all of the traditions that come out of the jazz tradition, they do show up in your work, which is why it's hard to peg you down as one particular thing. But by exploring those works, you're offering that back to the jazz legacy. I think that's beautiful. And finally, if I follow you on Instagram, you're gonna follow back.
Cool. Of course.
That's it. We'll see. I don't think he knows how to work any computers. I really don't. I really think that you are a record black and white analog dude. Okay, we'll see.
I know how to do it.
Go online, do your homework, follow Mwenso and the Shakes, look out for their albums, catch them live somewhere. Y'all are phenomenal. Give them up a round of applause one more time. Michaela, Savannah, Buyo, Matisse, Ruben, Julian, and Michael, thank you. Thank you. I got my tickets on lock. Divinely devoted to the edification of joy, jam sessions, and of course, jazz. Listen, I want to say thank you so much to the multifaceted Mwenso and the Shakes for bringing the spirit of youth and the thoughtfulness of old souls to a forum that has influenced so many lives all over the globe. Thank you all. We look forward to staying within earshot of the enchantment that you are sure to continue to conjure through the craft, and we wish you all the very, very, very best. If you're feeling blessed and you want more, B-side that is, you can check out past episodes on youtube.com/BRIC TV and our podcast at soundcloud.com/B-side podcast, or just come on by the studio to feel the magic up close. I am your host, Queen GodIs, wishing you a prosperous 2018. May the music uplift and your light stay lit. We love you. We love you, Brooklyn. Till next time.
Thank you. This is about having no regrets. So you win. And you lose. So you win. No, no
tall, my friend. Stand tall. Sometimes we fight and argue. Sometimes we fight and argue. Sometimes we fight and argue. So you win. And you lose. So you win. And you lose. Time will tell when all those things must come to pass.
You better stand up tall. 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 And you will.
Stand tall, my friend. Stand tall.
Stand tall, my friend.
Stand tall, my friend. Stand tall.
Sometimes we fight and argue. Sometimes we fight and argue. Sometimes we fight and argue. So you win.
And you lose.
So you win.
And you lose. Strength will keep, it will keep you here. Strength will keep you here. Oh, strength will keep you here. Oh, strength will keep you here.
Strength will keep you here. Strength will keep you here.